Hi, I'm Mark Hanauer. I was involved in the show Snap, Click, A Life in Photographs at the GABA Gallery. It was a lot of fun. It drew a lot of interesting people. It was a very unique, eclectic group of people. Not just young, not just older, not just the typical art crowd. It was people from all over the place. The gallery's in a unique part of town. Sort of hidden away. The gallery, what I really love about this gallery is that it does not follow a sort of style of gallery where, you know, like the galleries on La Cienega, which are all these austere white walls, groovy people, you know, and it's not a scene. It's not the kind of scene, and it's a lot of fun. And the people that run the gallery, Jason, Emma, and Jamie, are just fun, interesting. They like to bring in a lot of energy. They like to bring in a lot of people. And it's a very engaging, very fun place. And it was fun being involved in this show because I got to show the work that I wanted to show. I got to show my flowers. This is one of them. And that's all that I showed. Was my flowers. And I've done a lot of work over the years, photographing people, photographing, you know, musicians, artists, writers, business people, but it was nice just to show this body of personal work that is not commercial at all. And it was also interesting to show with the Bracas because I knew, when I started out, Moshe was starting out. And he's somebody who I always really enjoyed his work and the surprises that he put into his work. He always inspired me and kind of kicked my ass. I don't think he knows that, but you know, so it was good to see him and be in a show with him. And the other work in the show was interesting as well. How I got to know the people at the gallery was through the extraordinary and unique individual Daniel Rolnick. Daniel, he did the same thing you're doing. He interviewed me one day when I had a show at the Huntington Library of my flowers. And Daniel came by and he was just this young kid, and he was like, he would say things to me like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome." And I'm thinking, who is this guy? And he comes over and he gives me this great interview, and then a couple of days later I see the blog that he put it in, and it was a great interview. He's really smart, he's very positive, and he's an extraordinary character. And then he invited me to his house for what he calls artist Shabbats. Oh, and wow. All these people show up there, and Jamie was there, and she's just kind of all over the place, talking to everybody, poop stories, all this kind of stuff, and you know, next thing I know, she's starting a gallery. Would you be in the show? You know, so that's how I got to know the GABA Gallery. It's probably a body of about 30 that I really like a lot, and the 8 that I showed are just my absolute favorite because they're not literal flowers at all. They don't look like flowers necessarily. They're very abstract, they're very sensual, they're very colorful, and very fun to look at. So I just like them because they're different and unique. And my goal in any photograph that I take is to get whoever the viewer is to stop and look and see what it's about. And let's say it's in a magazine, which is how that was my first, not my first, but kind of how I started in commercial photography, is I want people to stop and read the story. Or actually the first commercial work that I did was in the record industry. So I was shooting album covers, and I wanted people to stop and want to listen, you know, to what's inside. So it's about, for me, it's about creating interest. That's a big thing for photography.
And this is a departure from how you first started out with more portraiture type stuff.
It is, but there's something that relates to the very first time I looked through the camera, and that is having almost a spiritual experience looking through the camera, where I find a composition that speaks to me and speaks to a very deep place in me. And it's something that's very hard to describe, but it's just very visceral. And it happens when I'm shooting portraits, it happens when I'm shooting flowers. And when I first got into photography, I was pretty young, I was 16 years old, and I just started taking my camera around and looking at rocks or architecture or the sky and thinking, oh, that's really interesting. And that hasn't changed. It's still the same process in a sense. Nothing. I mean, I shot very common flowers, I've shot very exotic flowers, it doesn't really matter. There's just something, and I've photographed a lot of flowers that I was not successful at getting an interesting image, and there's, you know, flowers that I didn't think would be interesting, I would find something there.
Mm.
You know, it's like getting to know a person. You know, at first impression, you might think, you know, and then you get to know them and it's like, wow,
okay,
it's really unique, there's something really, you know, you learn. But it's about involvement and intimacy and getting to know something.
Mm.
Digital tech is amazing. That I can sit down at a computer and print my images by myself at home, do everything myself is wonderful, because I love doing things by myself. I used to have, you know, big, you know, productions, and I never enjoyed having lots of people to think about, to worry about, to wonder about. And especially when the beauty of shooting my flowers is I do it all by myself, no assistance, nothing.
Well, thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.